All right, here we go. Cristin, Arlo, we're live here on Here We Go with Coach Chris Cox. Cristin and Arlo, thanks for coming on.
Hi, of course.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about Arlo.
Arlo is the best boy in the whole world. He is almost 3. Arlo, come here. He's my service dog. He is literally a psychiatric service dog, and he goes everywhere with me. He comes to work. He goes on my trips. Thank you.
I love it.
Hi, Boo-Booch.
Nice. Oh, so Cristin, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, of course.
The purpose of our podcast is just to highlight people that have struggled with mental health, addiction issues, which you and I have talked before. And,
yeah.
We kind of relate to some things and some things I can't relate to. And I'm super curious about just your life and your journey. So I wanted to bring you on, and then I'd love to kind of, as we go through, explore more about Arlo and how that's helped you in your journey. So tell me a little bit about your recovery and your sobriety and what you were struggling with.
Yeah, so April 28th, 2016 is my sobriety date.
Okay.
I just took 8 years. This is my first sobriety.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Not since, I guess it's difficult because it's the first time since I've been in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous and opened up a big book with another woman. Okay. I didn't know anything about sobriety. I didn't know we lived in the hub of sobriety. I didn't know
Orange
anything.
County.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it, at all. Yeah. I had no clue. And then I went to Kaiser, and they told me to go to meetings, and I looked up meeting schedules, and my mind was blown with how many options we have out here.
I think it's over 1,200 a week or something like that. Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, talk about my sobriety.
Let's talk about your sobriety, your mental health issues, just anything you feel comfortable with, because I know you're sober, right? Yeah. But you also shared with me you've been diagnosed
mental health,
with what in mental health?
So basically what happened is the best case scenario is I went to Kaiser. They tricked me. I thought I was just there, because I wanted to kill myself. And then they drug tested me. And when they drug tested me, I was so excited. They did the breathalyzer. It was my first time doing that. And then I got to pee in a cup, and I was so excited. And I went, and I peed, and I came out. And then the next day, obviously, they got the results, and they were like, hey, to be in this program, you have to be sober. And I was like, I am sober. I had 119 days, right? Plot twist. I was not sober. I was taking Roxy's and Xanax and all the different things, and I was smoking weed. But I had stopped drinking alcohol, and I didn't know anything about sobriety, so I thought that I was sober. Yeah. I legitimately, you could have put a gun to my head and I would have told you that I was sober.
Yeah.
So the therapist there told me I can either leave the program or I can go tell the group that I haven't been sober. And I called my mom, and I told her that she needed to throw away all of my chocolates and my gummies and all of the things, because when I stopped drinking alcohol, my parents were so happy that I wasn't drinking alcohol anymore, that they were fine with the weed. It's interesting how the family will settle for certain things, And so my mom was like, no, this is the only thing keeping you calm and from drinking. And I was like, I have to give everything up. And so she threw everything away for me. And then I went to group the next day, and I told the class, whatever, the little circle, I told everyone that I was lying about my sobriety, and that today was my first day of sobriety. And my therapist literally said in the group, she was like, wow, that took so much courage to come out. And this is, I think, the first time you're practicing humility. And something about that, my ego just flared up, and I just felt seen and heard, and I was like, oh my God, I'm doing the right thing, and it feels good.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever felt that. And so I just thrived on that. And then I went to my first meeting, and I got a sponsor at that meeting. And I stood up and I shared, and I was like, so I've been smoking weed, and I've been doing all these things, and I thought that I was sober, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I think I want to do this. And so after the meeting, this man came up to me. He actually just passed away, Don Mitchell. He's incredible. He had 30-something years. And he came up and he was like, wow, you got honest with everyone. Like, you can start this thing over, you know, if you want to stay for the next meeting and just share and say, hi, I'm Cristin, I'm an alcoholic, and today is my first day sober, and take a newcomer chip. He was like, I'll stay here till the next meeting and stay with you. And I did. Cool. And then he came up to me and he's like, that took a lot of humility. And it was this humility word that just kept rocking my world. And I was like, I like the way this feels.
Yeah.
And only in the rooms can you come in and you tell everyone, hey, I can't stop drinking. I've created so much chaos. My life is just completely destroyed. I've like destroyed every relationship I had. I burnt everything to the ground. I was just a tornado through people's lives, and they clap for you. And they tell you that they love you.
And they laugh about it.
And they're happy that you're here. And there's nothing you can ever say in a room where people are just looking at you like you're crazy. It was just, I like found my home. And so then started to go to meetings, got my first sponsor that night, started to go to meetings. And then at my IOP program is when they started to notice some behavior in me. Now that substances were completely removed, I would sit and I would scratch my arm until it bled, and I would pull my hair out and my eyelashes. And, you know, there were a few days where I hadn't slept for like more than 72 hours. So there was some mania kind of happening. And I had a full out of body experience of, I just couldn't figure out what was going on, but I also didn't even realize that something was going on. I felt so excited to be alive, but then like, it was so interesting. It was an out of body experience that I had never experienced because I'd never been sober enough to understand what was going on in my mind. And so they were like, hey, I think you should go see this psychiatrist, like right now. And so they made me an appointment, and I went over to the psychiatrist, and I was kind of talking about some things that were going on. And he suggested that maybe I was bipolar. He asked if it ran in the family, and my grandma was bipolar. And we don't know about the other family members because the older generation died of alcoholism in both sides of the family. So my grandma was sober, but I remember when I was young, there were a lot of weird things that would happen. Even though she was sober, she would stop taking her meds. And so things would get weird. And I was like, yeah, actually that like kind of makes sense. And then as I was talking to him, I went home and I started to piece some things together. And like my life was always like a wave.
Yeah.
Like always, like right before I got sober, I went to Vegas with some friends from college. They were all from different countries, Canada, other places. And we went out. We went to a club. I was smoking weed. This is before I was sober. I was smoking weed, and I just kind of disappeared. Like I'd left the club, I disappeared, and I spent 36 hours, and I spent my entire life savings on penny slots in a full manic episode. I had extensions in. I was pulling my extensions out. I had this little white romper with blue flowers, and I had blood all down the romper. And people it's the weirdest thing, the servers kept coming up and still offering me alcohol. And I just kept saying, no, thank you, I'm sober, and taking water. But it was like this out of body experience where I could not stop.
Yeah.
I literally tried to call the 401k company that I had, which is so interesting because then I ran the 401k at my last company, and I was like, oh, that's not how that works. I was trying to figure out how to sell my car. Just all the things.
To play penny slots.
Yeah. All by myself.
Yeah. So for people that don't know, you're definitely describing symptoms of bipolar, but for people that don't know, what is bipolar? Like, what does that look like? How would you explain that in layman terms to somebody that doesn't understand, and maybe they're relating to what you're saying?
Yeah,
right
I
now?
think there's such a misconception about being bipolar, right? I think people say that like since they're young of like, oh my God, she's being bipolar right now. You know, she's in a cranky mood, or for me, and everyone's different, right? It's these drastic mood swings that you can't explain. And the crazy thing about being bipolar is the mood swings are brought on by nothing. So like bipolar compared to borderline, my best friend in the entire world is borderline, and she had an episode, and I got obsessed with learning about borderline. And it's so interesting because for bipolar, you can take medication. Borderline, you have to do intensive therapy forever. And I've seen her just transform into a completely different person with 7 years sober. But yeah, with bipolar, I have these out-of-body experiences for about 3 to 4 days, where I spend all my money.
So it shows up as a manic kind of state.
For like 72 hours to a little bit past that.
And do you feel it coming on?
No.
You know it's coming on? Do you know you're in it when you're in it?
So that's it. It's so interesting because I want to say yes, but when I look back, I know that I was in it, obviously, because I burned my life to the ground very quickly. But you don't. It just comes on and you have this really euphoric feeling. And I think I didn't question it because it felt so good, because I was depressed all the time. So all of a sudden I'm feeling really good. And I'm like, maybe this is just how it's going to be now. Maybe I've figured it out and everything's going to work now. And that lasts about 3 days. And I'm manic and I do, I know it, I will meet up with men that I normally wouldn't meet up with. I will shop when I normally wouldn't shop because I don't have money to shop. I had a manic episode at about a year sober and I spent everything I had again. Like I had accrued a little bit of money and I spent all of that again. And then I filed bankruptcy. So that was fun. But that's the thing. You have these repercussions from just a few days of mania. And then after that, it's the severe depression of like suicidal ideation.
So you crash like
so
completely hard.
For like a month, like 3 weeks to a month, I am in a state of, I can't shower, I can't eat, I can't get out of bed. It is just a complete and utter hopelessness. It is unbearable.
Yeah.
And so when you're in the mania, you just don't want to get out of it. So you just ride it out because you know eventually that's going to come. And I think that's what I realized when I was sober, is it was going to come and it was scary. And so, but everyone's different. I have a lot of friends that also are bipolar and we're all drastically different. And that's kind of the thing too, is like some people will have mania for weeks. It just looks different in everyone.
Yeah. That's interesting.
It's so interesting.
So I want to kind of back up a little bit because we've also
I can go all over the place.
Have that athletic thing in common.
Yes.
And so you grew up in a pretty good family.
Great home.
Right. And tell me just kind of a little bit about your high school, childhood days, how you came up, when things started and when you started to notice things and when you started to use drugs.
It's
Let's
crazy.
Kind of back up.
So I come from an incredible family.
Where'd you grow up?
Orange County.
Okay, so you're an Orange County girl.
Yeah, I went to Villa Park High School.
Okay, there we go.
I graduated in 2007. I went to I just had an incredible family. I never heard the word no.
Yeah.
I had everything I could possibly want. My parents worked really hard. And from a very young age, I was not good at school. And so my dad realized I was good at sports.
Okay.
So
like a lot of us.
Yeah. So I was not good at school. And I was very tall. Like I've been 5'10" since I was in like 6th grade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was very tall and he realized sports might be the avenue to set me up for success. So, I remember I was like 6 years old and we would go out to the park and my dad would kick this, because I was playing soccer at the time. My dad would kick the soccer ball at me because I was a goalie for like an hour and a half straight until I had bruises all over my chest. And then we would go inside and have dinner because he just wanted me to be the best version of myself.
Right.
And he never pushed that stuff on me, which is crazy. Like he never like.
You wanted to be out in the backyard with him blocking balls.
It was my favorite thing in the world because like being inside, I was bored. I also have severe ADD.
Yeah.
So, so I did that. And then I found swimming, which I loved. And then I found water polo, which was the best thing that's ever happened in my life.
How old were you when you found water polo?
So I think I started late. So I was in 7th grade. I was in 7th grade and I was swimming and they kept telling me that I should play water polo. And so I did my first practice and I was horrible, as people had been doing it since they were like 5, 6 years old.
Sure.
And I just became obsessed with it. And I went to every practice I could possibly go to. I practiced with the girls' varsity team. I practiced with their sophomore team. I practiced with I practiced with the guys' teams. I became obsessed. And that was like the first obsession that I've ever had in my life. And I was obsessed. And so I ended up doing that. And I was on the varsity team my freshman year. I played all through high school. my junior year, I started going on recruit trips, that's just when my life completely changed. You get to go on 5 recruit trips.
Yeah.
And all these colleges are trying to convince you to go there.
Right.
So they would take us out to party. They would throw big parties for us. And then I'm this high schooler I was pretty sheltered. So I was this high schooler that didn't party, didn't do anything. And then everything was focused on water polo because I knew it was the only way I was going to go to college. And in my house, in my family, it was encouraged to go to college. That was kind of
your family to
yes,
go to college,
it was
yeah.
the course of life. And so I just didn't see it. I was just so blinded in like what I needed to do. And the first time I got drunk was at Arizona State University.
Oh, the first time you got drunk was on a recruiting trip when you were a junior or a senior?
Hang on. Junior.
Okay.
I was a junior because they could bring you earlier back then.
Okay.
So I was a junior. And actually, this one wasn't even a recruit trip. Yes. So this one, I went on the recruit trip senior year. This one was just them kind of letting me check out the facility. So my parents came out there with me. So
like an unofficial visit. Okay.
So my parents came out there with me and I met the team and I went out with all the girls because one of my friends from college ended up going there, like one of my closest friends. And I got my first taste of alcohol. I was annihilated. I was puking everywhere. I was a disaster. And I woke up the next morning and I had just decided I had arrived. This was the best thing in the entire world.
You remember having fun. No.
It was the time of my life. It was I literally decided at that moment, I'm going to do this forever. And so I continued playing water polo. And I remember the drive home too with my parents. I was so sick. And it was miserable.
Could they tell? Could they smell it?
I just don't think they wanted to acknowledge things. You
Yeah.
know, I think my parents just really didn't want to see a lot of stuff.
Right.
And then that year we were in CIF for water polo and I went out the night before and I got wasted and a friend's mom had to call my parents because she thought I was having alcohol poisoning. So my parents had to come pick me up and it was like a Wednesday or a Thursday and we had a game the next day. We're like in high school, game next day. And I just remember my parents being so disappointed.
Yeah.
You know? But like then I went and played and I was exceptional. So it was like, it was just conflicting. Like I wasn't having like the high school fun of like going out and meeting the boys. Like, no, I had decided I was going to play water polo for the rest of my life and I was going to drink like this for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Two passions.
Yes.
Drinking and water polo.
So yeah, I ended up going to Arizona State.
Okay. So that's the school you picked. All right. So you went there as a freshman, no junior college, no nothing.
No, and I was a starting freshman.
Okay, you started at Arizona State.
Yes, and we were
as a
4th
freshman.
in the nation. Yes,
Okay.
I was a starting freshman. I was one of the top recruits. I was that summer. How it ended up happening that summer, I tried out for the national team, and so I was playing for the USA women's national team. It was so much fun, and I think there was only 20 of us that got picked, and I was picked, and then they were going to Australia that year, and I was an alternative. I was something. I didn't make the final, I think it was final 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And I was wasted the night before, like throwing up in the gutter at the final practice. It was like I was trying to do both, and I like could not see that the alcohol was a problem and it was getting in the way of the sports.
Yeah.
And so the coach of that team was the Arizona State coach. So he had convinced me to go to ASU. My grades were horrible. I graduated high school with a 2.1 and college with a 2.1.
Yeah.
I could only focus on one thing, which was sports.
Yeah.
So he gave me like a almost half ride with like a, hey, when you come here, we're going to like figure this out and you're going to get better grades. You know, we're going to like set you up for success. And then once I can see that you're going to succeed here, then we'll give you the full ride, you know? So I went there day one, annihilated. Got alcohol, drank the whole first day, athlete orientation the week before. You're treated, college sports are so much fun. You were treated, and obviously we don't bring in the money, right? Like the real teams bring in the money. But I love Title IX. It's one of my favorite things in the entire world, because we all get the money the same as they get the money because there's equality, right? So I love Title IX. I wrote so many papers on it. But so yeah, we're all out there just having the time of our lives. And I couldn't stop drinking. And again, starting freshman, treated so good out there. And it went downhill like really fast. It went downhill really, really fast. I was drinking every day. I was drinking during practices. I was having withdrawals constantly.
So you got physically addicted to alcohol by the time you were a freshman. Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't go a few hours without drinking. It wasn't even a possibility. And in sports, you have dry season where there's like 3 months that you're not allowed to drink. You sign contracts, you're not allowed to touch it. There was not a single day that I didn't drink.
Yeah.
I brought vodka when we went on trips to go play at different places. I could not stop drinking. And not one time did it seem like it was an issue. It's very interesting. I tore my meniscus right before season started. So I didn't get to practice with the girls. They would tape up my knee.
This was what, sophomore year or
freshman year?
Freshman year, okay.
I only lasted at ASU for a year.
Okay.
So yeah, I was on academic probation at that time. Actually, all through college, I was on academic probation. I constantly would catch up and then get back on it because, I mean, you're looking at 5 hours in the pool in the afternoon, right? 2 of those hours are swimming. The rest are, training. Then you have an hour in the morning where you do running and then you do weights. And then you're going to school in between. And then if you look at by the time that's done at 8 p.m. at night, I'm going to drink all night.
Yeah.
There's no time for school. So it just wasn't good. But so yeah, they had set me up for success. They treated me so good. And I just couldn't stop. I could not stop. And I tore my meniscus. And that's when I got pills. And that was game on. I could push through the pain. I could make it through the practice. And also with a little bit of alcohol, it's a really good mixture. And so that's what I did. And I ended up getting in trouble. And I remember there's a few times I didn't get to travel to go wherever we were going to go play, wherever it was. And like those things didn't bother me. Like before when I like felt like I wasn't playing enough or I felt like I wasn't getting enough attention from the coach, which is like my favorite thing, which is just screaming at you. Like that means they care, because like then they're paying attention to you. If they're not paying attention to you, it's a serious problem, which has honestly created my ethic in all of life. I'm forever grateful for sports. But yeah, I just, I felt like I wasn't getting, and I would cry and I would sob and I would get angry and I would go run 5 miles at night, like just to get the anger and aggression out. And then I wasn't traveling. I was no longer starting. I didn't care. It like genuinely did not bother me. Like nothing mattered anymore except for getting through the next day. Like alcohol was the only thing I thought about. It removed all of my anxiety. It removed all of my stress. It was the only way I could get through things. And I genuinely cannot express to you, I did not realize I was an alcoholic until October 5th, 2015, when I stopped drinking alcohol. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I would never admit to it. I would never acknowledge it. I just kept finding people that would deal with what I was doing.
Right. So what happened? You got kicked out of Arizona State? What?
So we had a practice. This is one of those things that it took me a really long time to forgive myself for, and there's surprisingly not a lot of those. There's a good amount, but not a lot. So there was a weekend tournament. All the teams were coming out, USC, Stanford, everyone, and I went out to like a frat party because my team didn't want to be around me anymore. So I went out with like a frat party and I got so annihilated. I had to get an IV in the morning. And I went into the cafeteria like an idiot and I was like, oh my God, I'm so hungover. And people overheard me say that. So they went to my coaches and my coach called me in. I had no idea. I have both my coaches sitting there. And they're like, hey, so we heard you went out and drank last night. And I just denied every single second. I was like, absolutely not. And they were like, yeah, no, we can't, we don't believe you anymore. Like, this isn't working. Mm-hmm. So they told me I was no longer on the team. And without being on the team, I don't get to stay at school.
Right.
So, because my parents were not going to pay for me to go to school. That was like, they were like, you worked way too hard. This needs to be paid for.
Right.
So I moved back home with my parents. I was done playing sports. And then a coach that I really respected, I went to go watch one of the water polo games at a community college. And a coach that I really respected, and I actually played with him in high school, he was like, why don't you just like come check it out, you know? Mm-hmm. And I got back in the pool and I fell in love with it again. And so 2 years at a community college, again, every single day I was drinking during practice. My coach used to make jokes about how it smelled like a brewery when I was around. And then I got to go on recruit trips again. And so I went on some of the same recruit trips. And then I chose this school in New York. I went out there on my recruit trip. I actually went to theirs when I was in high school too. And then this is like almost 3 years later. And they offered me a full ride. And all the girls were from different countries. And everyone drank like me. And everyone was smoking like me. And I was like, I've arrived. And so I went to that school. And it was so much fun.
What was that school? What was the name of that
It's called Hartwick.
Okay.
It's like a private, tiny, like liberal arts school. Like never in a million years did I think I would go there. Like my senior year when I went on a recruit trip there, I remember getting back home and I was like, I would never go there. Like they were still Division I, mm-hmm. but like I would never go there. And then all of a sudden, this is my number one top priority, the only school that I want to go to. And so I chose that.
Because the team was like you, right?
They were all like me. They all did the same thing that I did. So it had nothing to do with the sports.
Right.
It had nothing to do with the sports. And so it was the time of my life. And of course, dry season again. But the best part is that I get there and the assistant coach was my assistant coach from Arizona State. He had transferred from Arizona State to that college.
Was he one of the guys in the room that kicked you off the
team?
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Full circle, huh?
He used to have to follow me to class at ASU.
Uh-huh.
He would follow me to class. He would stop in to make sure I was there. I got in trouble at ASU. I had to do like 20 hours of swimming, 15 hours in the gym to like even be able to start practicing with the team again. Mm-hmm. And he had to come every single time and watch me to observe and make sure that I did that. I get to New York and this poor man, Ryan Castle, he's a saint. This poor man, he's from South Africa. He sees me and I'm there and I'm back and I'm drunk. And I walk into the gym and I just was mortified. I was like, oh my God, he's going to tell my coach everything about me. Mm-hmm. Which I don't know if he did, but I proved him right again.
Yeah.
So this poor man had to deal with me. And again, drinking every day. Dry season happens. It's more of a suggestion this time. Not as many repercussions. My coach knows, they all know. It was a constant, like, these people, they gave me money to do a job. Mm-hmm. You know, like I didn't have like a real job until I was 22, because that's when I technically retired and graduated college. But they paid me to do a job.
Right.
And I never performed that job. I would come and I would gain a lot of weight and I would get injured because I wasn't taking care of my body, and I was drinking and I wasn't going to class. And then there I am again on probation. And I had to do all these courses and do all this stuff to get off probation. And I finally did it. I got like exactly a 2.000, like 1.2 or something. And at the end of so again, stopped playing. I sat on the bench. He brought in a new girl. She replaced me. She became one of my closest friends. I was just constantly letting people down, you know, and they paid me. They brought me on. There's other people that could have had that opportunity. I just happened to be really gifted at that sport. Like I was no longer trying. I was just showing up, and I still happened to be gifted. Mm-hmm. And so I got lucky in that regards, but it's crazy. It's so anyways, academic probation, end of the year, season's over. We're all getting awards, you know. People are getting awards for, you know, most goals scored in the year, X, Y, and Z. My award was that my GPA with the 2.00012, whatever it was was finally higher than my alcohol level.
Yeah.
It was mortifying.
Were your parents there?
No.
Okay.
No. And also, it's speaking in regards to that, I lied to my parents when I got kicked off the team at ASU.
Yeah.
I lied to them. I told them I hurt my meniscus. They weren't going to play me anymore.
Mm-hmm. And you quit. But you didn't really quit. Yeah.
No. And that was devastating. I mean, then, they had to help pay for me to go to community college. One day I had a friend that had an apartment, and I just kind of like showed up at her house and kind of took over the apartment and like moved in. Then my parents were paying for me to live in an apartment. Just like the chaos of all of that. And they had no idea. I put them, because I had never lied to them before. So I think they just like weren't ready to hear it, and they didn't want to accept it. But yeah, I let so many people down. And I also think I never had the experience of even having, literally from 16 to 26 years old, I didn't have a sober breath.
Yeah.
I don't remember a full 24 hours without drinking. Yeah. So like when the mental health stuff happened, I just assumed it was alcoholism.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it was alcoholism. I just assumed that it was putting things in my body that were making me a little off.
Yeah. So when did the borderline stuff start showing up? How old were you when that happened?
I look back and I haven't been able to pinpoint that because, again, substances were so severe. But I really think it was around 21 or 22.
Yeah. Is that pretty normal with borderline about that age?
Or with bipolar,
with bipolar.
That's okay, yeah. It's pretty normal.
So it's kind of like schizoaffective disorder.
Yeah.
That's the same age that starts showing. And so same kind of thing.
Yeah, it kind of just creeps up. Yeah, I didn't have really, it was around 21, 22.
Yeah.
Where it got really severe.
Yeah. Okay, I want to fast forward.
Yes.
So that was great.
Thanks.
A great story about your athletic career.
Yeah.
And like, even though you might not have like been present for that, the stuff that we learn out of athletics and sports is, I can tell working with you, 'cause we get to work together a little bit at the other place, that you're an athlete. And athletes, like Cole's an ex-high school football player over there. And so you learn stuff through sports, and like you said, you learn how to take feedback. We don't look at it as criticism. We look at it as feedback. You learn how to work hard. You learn how to show up. You learn how to grind. You learn how to show up when you don't feel well, and you're showing up hungover. So, that's neat. Okay, so you go. I want to fast forward back and get back to that part of your story where you go see the psychiatrist at Kaiser, and then he pinpoints.
And then we discuss a plan of action.
And then, so tell me about that. What happened, and how did you get kind of past that?
So I met with him once a week, which, if anyone knows anything about Kaiser, it's almost impossible to get that. They take, they took me very seriously, and I will forever be indebted to that. So we kind of talked about some things in regards to medication. And I'm telling you, when I found out I was an alcoholic and I found out I was bipolar, my whole world, I felt like I had solved the problem to everything I had been ever trying to figure out. It was so exciting to me because I was like, there's solutions for all of this.
So you were relieved. So before that, you're like, what's wrong with me? Yeah.
I thought something was like deeply wrong with me that was different than everyone else in the world. And it turns out I just have mental health issues. And so do, like, I don't know what the statistics are, but like, let's be real, it's like 1 out of 5.
Yeah.
And so we started me on medication. It was about 9 months of trying to figure out the right medication. And finally, around 9 months, we got what worked, and it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me. And then there's some things in there. So I tried a few, and I got very suicidal. They were not the right ones for me. There's no right one that you can take, and they all work differently for different people.
It's different for everyone. So that's a puzzle. So thank God I moved home to my parents because, of course, boyfriend after boyfriend, ruin every relationship, move out of state, try to figure everything out. So my parents let me move back home. And so I was at their house, so they were able to keep an eye on me. My therapist had me make sure that every week when I was coming to see him, I would kind of address any issues that I had with the medication
anything that was kind of going on. I had a mood board. So I had like literally every 2 hours I was writing how I felt and the different emotions that were coming up. And so it was the first time also taking direction and doing the things I wanted the help. I like wanted the help more than anything I'd ever wanted in my entire life. Because I knew that without getting my mental health under control, I wasn't going to be able to stay sober.
Right.
So we did all the different meds. We finally found one that worked. My mom would come with me sometimes to talk to the psychiatrist without me there. So they could kind of talk about like what my behavior had been. And then at around, I guess like 11 months, right before I got 1 year, that's when I decided that I didn't want to have bipolar disorder anymore. And I thought that I had like cured the anxiety and I had cured the depression and I was good to go and I didn't need to have this stuff anymore. And the way it happens is I was so proud of being bipolar. To this day, I will tell anyone in the world that I am bipolar. I'm so proud to be bipolar because I'm medicated and I'm stable and I live like a very free life, you know, like I show up, nobody would know I'm bipolar, which is why I love talking about it because other people don't talk about it. It's like so I could talk about it to anyone and everyone, but and
thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, of course. I think it's just not talked about enough. It's really not, because it's like this shameful thing, and I love talking about it.
All mental health issues are.
Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, you know, you and I work for Treat Mental Health California, and I'm answering the phones this week, and it's like people are so, like, it's so hard for people to make that first phone call.
Well, especially when there's like the stigma of, I mean, you have people, I got very blessed with single woman taking care of just myself, you know? When you have people that have children, when you have men that are the breadwinners, when you have moms that are dealing with postpartum and then, you know, a year after it's not getting better, you have kids that maybe their family's a little bit judgmental to mental health because it's never been with anyone in the family. And the reality of that is like, oh, there's never been anyone in our family with that. No, it's just never been talked about and it's never been addressed. And so it's this stigma of like, I can't come forward and tell people I have this problem. But like the alternative to that is usually death.
Right.
Like the alternative to that is usually death.
Yeah.
Like if we don't talk about this and come forward, we're not going to get the help that we need.
Yeah.
And I think that's devastating.
Yeah.
Because the other side of it is so beautiful. And also my brother got sober a year after I did. It's literally my biggest gift of all of my sobriety.
Okay, so at 11 months, you said, I'm good. I'm not taking any more medication.
Yes, there we go. Back to that. And then I went manic and I spent all my money.
Oh, that's when you did that.
A week off of medication.
Okay.
A week off of medication.
Yeah.
Full-blown manic episode. Yeah. And I literally got back on the meds, I want to say a week following that. So I was only off for 2 weeks. My life just crumbled. Yeah. It was strange. My friends were asking what was wrong with me. I didn't want to be different, which is so interesting because, you know, I go to Alcoholics Anonymous and we're all different.
Yeah.
And we're all a little wild, but I didn't want to be separate from them because that was my community. And the reality is it was just something that I told myself was real. It wasn't real. Like that was something I had decided in my mind that made me different. And so in 2 weeks, I just burned everything to the ground. Yeah. I lost all of my money. I had nothing to my name. I was like frantically going, the anxiety that caused me, because I spent $25,000 that my grandpa had left me when he passed away. I spent that. I was hoarding things in my house. I was like buying skincare in like bulk, and I was like hiding it in different places in my parents' house. Like I look back at that and I spent over like $40,000 and I don't know what I spent it on.
Yeah.
Like that's the crazy thing, you know? And like, I just don't know where it went. I don't know where it went. I don't know what I purchased. It was all just a blur. And I'm pretty sure I spent money on like other people and things too. When I'm manic, I love to give gifts. And so it was wild. And then the constantly checking my mail, because I'm living at my parents' house, right? And I just constantly checking the mail to figure out when the banks, like the statements are going to come in, because the debt is accruing and accruing and accruing because I spent it all on cards. Like after I spent the $25,000, then I got credit cards in my name. And then I I just kept maxing them out. And so I was constantly going and checking. And then one day my dad saw the statements and he called me. And by the way, I'm a 27-year-old woman at this time, you know? And my dad called me and he was devastated. And he was like, I just don't understand. I thought like you've been sober. I thought like you had figured all of this out, because he doesn't understand mental health. My mom and dad don't have it.
Yeah.
They just don't. And they're both not alcoholics either. And he was like, I thought we figured this out. You know, you go to meetings every day. Cause I was still going to meetings every day. He's like, you're working on yourself. You made amends to us. Like, I don't understand where the disconnect is. And it was so mortifying and humbling and devastating. And that was the last time I ever didn't take, I mean, I learned the lesson.
And then you went back to your psychiatrist, and then you found the right medication.
And I have been on that medication for 7 years now.
Yeah.
And this is the crazy part, my biggest fear is that one day the medication's going to stop working.
Right.
Like I tell people all the time, if we get in a plane crash and we go down and we're on a deserted island and I don't have my meds, get rid of me first. It's going to get really weird really quick.
Oh, wow.
It's going to get really weird really quick. And I think that's something really humbling to look at, because I have friends that have gotten off of their antidepressants. I have friends that have worked on their anxiety. I have friends that have done all of these things. And again, it's the reality of how I was talking about borderline is you have to do therapy for the rest of your life. With bipolar, as long as I stay sober and don't put substances in my body and continue to take the medication, I'm going to live a happy, healthy life.
So bipolar for you is just 100% the right medication, and you're fine.
Yeah. And then obviously there's therapy. I'm not doing therapy right now, but I love therapy. And then obviously my program and just doing the right thing, right? Like I have to walk every day to get my body moving.
Yeah.
I have a job that like makes me feel, it fuels me. You know, I have people in my life today. I have a nephew. I have.
So let's talk about your job. You're HR for a lot of different companies.
I love it.
You love human resources. Tell me about that.
I love it because I love rules and I love order, which is wild because I didn't realize I was a type A personality. But I love it. And it's so cool when I got this job. Actually, my sponsor is the one that told me that I needed to look into another job after I did my 5th step with her. And I had been in HR for 3 years at my dad's company.
Okay, so you learned it there.
I started the day COVID hit at the previous job. So I learned a lot really quickly.
HR during COVID had to be tricky.
I learned a lot really quickly. We had 500 employees, and we were in all of the states, and we were in Canada. And I learned a lot, like really quickly. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I didn't know that I wanted to be in HR. I thought I wanted to be a social worker. And I got into that and it was exhilarating. And there's always things to figure out. It's so much fun. Like there's always things to figure out. And so when I got this job, I thought it was substance abuse, which is what we were working with, which we do. I do HR for substance abuse facilities, but then I found out we had also mental health facilities, which again, I don't know if maybe I'm naive. I don't know. I didn't realize mental health facilities existed. I knew of like a few, maybe, but I didn't realize there were all of these mental health facilities. So like now I get to help employees give these clients the best opportunity to recover. And I just think it's incredible. Yeah.
And it's a neat place to work. These guys really pour into their employees.
I tell everyone they're genius. They're so smart. They're so smart. And it's because they genuinely care about their employees. They care about their clients. Like they genuinely care. My biggest thing was I was afraid for a long time to work in treatment. I worked a very corporate job. I was very scared to work in treatment because there's a lot of facilities that don't take care of their clients, a lot. And so my sponsor works in UR at this facility, and just the way that she talked about them and the company, I like knew it was ethical and they were doing the right things. And then the longer I stay here, I just realize I would recommend our facilities to anybody.
It's awesome. Okay, now I want to talk about Arlo.
Yeah.
So Arlo is a registered psychiatric support dog.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It means that it's interesting. So it means that I can have him with me at all times.
Can you get his face? Like, can you get him to
Hello.
sit up a little bit and look at? There he is.
Hi. Look.
What a great dog. There he is.
Yes.
That's it. Good job, Cole.
It
Okay.
means that he can go everywhere with me.
Okay.
I can take him on flights. I can take him anywhere. There's really nowhere he's not allowed to go.
And how is he trained?
I did a lot of training with him.
There you go.
I did a lot of training. It was actually a place up the street. I had to make sure that, and I think that's the beautiful part about a golden doodle is his temperament.
Yeah, he's so sweet.
He loves everybody. There's not
Yeah.
a person he doesn't love. And so that was very important in finding that. And also he's codependent and he wants to be attached to me at all times.
Yeah.
But I get to take him to work every day.
But so is he trained like that? What does the training look like for him besides
was
just the
so
normal,
easy.
like mind and sit and all that? Like, is there anything extra they do for a psychiatric support dog?
No, I mean, he just has to be able to stay and not leave. I mean, it's different for everybody. The main thing was, I think the biggest in regards to with the training, we did some training, right? He knows how to sit, he knows how to stay, he knows how to not leave my side when he's supposed to not leave my side. But like the biggest thing was he gets me to get up and go out of the house because I need to take him to the bathroom,
Yeah.
and like feed him and do very basic things that if I was in, let's say, a depression, I wouldn't be able to take care of him. And so it's the wildest thing where
So it's a benefit for you in that way where
Yes.
it forces you, if you start sliding back, like,
yeah.
hey, I got to get up and I've got somebody else
I got to
I've got
take
to
him
look
to the
after.
dog park.
Right.
And when I don't want to go to the grocery store and I don't want to do things, it doesn't matter because I make all his food. So I have to go to the grocery store and I have to cook and I have to do all that stuff. And it's just, he's been everything for me because I get to take him to work. And I don't really suffer from anxiety anymore, but anytime I feel weird, as long as this dog is here, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if somebody wants to, feels like they do have anxiety or they do have some mental health issues,
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like having a
It's the best thing in the
support
world.
dog is so beneficial. How does somebody go about doing that?
So my psychiatrist wrote me a letter.
Okay.
My psychiatrist wrote me a letter because I'm bipolar
Uh-huh.
and I can have episodes. I have not had one since in the last 7 years. But my psychiatrist wrote me a note just saying, that he benefits my mental health and that he's good for me in society, that he benefits me as a human, and that it's beneficial for me to be able to have him legally.
So your psychiatrist can, it's almost like a psychiatrist can write a prescription.
Yeah, psychiatrist or therapist.
A therapist can write a prescription. And do you file that with anyone?
Yeah,
So
I
what
just
do you do?
registered him on the Service Dog website.
Okay, is that a government website?
Yeah.
Okay, so you go on you get a service dog and you can register
Yeah.
them, and then you send that letter in.
Yeah.
And they certify that.
Yeah.
So if you need to get on a plane, you have paperwork.
I have the
take.
paperwork.
Okay.
He's got his little tag. And then of course when we go, I don't want people to think he's like a service dog. Do you know what I mean? Like which is why we don't wear the vest and
Right.
stuff.
So there's a difference in a service
Yes.
dog and a
Yes.
psychiatric service.
Yes, because
dog.
like he doesn't bring me meds. He doesn't make sure if I was having a seizure that he like protects my head. There's a
Right.
lot of things that he doesn't do in that regards, and that's where it's like I don't tell a lot of people that he's my service dog
Yeah.
because I just don't want people to think that I'm using a different thing. But he does have a vest and it says psychiatric service dog, and I will tell you not one single person has ever asked me. It's like in big bold letters, and I really think people just don't want to ask what that means.
And so when you're flying or going
Yeah.
somewhere, you use the vest.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yes.
if you instead of having to take your paperwork out, he's got the vest.
Yeah,
pretty
and then
much
he
people
has a
leave you
little
alone.
tag that hangs on the vest, and it's got his picture and all of his information on it.
I love it.
And of course, I mean, When I go to Airbnbs, I always go to an Airbnb that's dog friendly. Because I work a good program. When I go to hotels that are dog friendly.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to use it as an excuse to have
To bring it in anywhere where there's
Yes.
I get it.
But yeah, he is allowed everywhere. When we go to meetings, he sits on a chair. He prays out with us.
Nice.
The whole thing. Paw up, prays out. Yeah, he's just the best.
Nice. So I have 2 more questions before we wrap up. One, can you just give a little 3 or 4 minute snippet of what your life is like today?
Oh my gosh.
With your sobriety and being 7 years removed from having an episode.
Yeah.
What does it look like?
I sit and think about it all the time. The other night, I was laying in bed and I was just sobbing of just genuine happiness. I had no idea. I thought I was going to be dead by 26. I just didn't want to live a long life. And I really genuinely believed that. And today I live on my own. It's just me and him. That was something I never thought I was going to be able to do.
Yeah.
Also, in the beginning, when I was getting sober and I was figuring out the mental health, I thought it was too dangerous to live on my own. Truthfully, I needed accountability. And so today we have our own little 2-bedroom apartment with a backyard for him. I can pay rent. I am fully financially independent.
Yeah.
I have a job that I love and I go to work every day. And then I have my family, my parents are my best friends in the entire world. If I could live with them for the rest of my life, I would, and they would gladly accept it.
Yeah.
So the being financially independent and living on my own was really hard to swallow that pill.
Right.
Because they're literally my mom is my best friend. My dad is my biggest supporter.
It's beautiful.
They're just the best. And my brother got married to a woman in the rooms, and now she is my best friend. I was her maid of honor. Mason is my sister-in-law's son. He is my favorite person on earth. He is about to turn 7. They just had a little boy. He's about to turn 1. He is unbelievable. And the fact that I truly, because my brother also has depression, I literally thought my brother was going to die. I did not think he was going to make it. That was the hardest first year to go through sober and just pray that he was going to work out fine. And now, he's one of my best friends. And I can't even, my life is easy. I don't care what I'm going to do tomorrow. I don't care what my life is. I'm very single and very happy.
Yeah.
I don't have this expectation on if I'm going to have kids. If I don't have kids, I'm probably going to adopt.
Yeah.
If I don't get married, I don't get married. I don't have, I'm not worried about how much money I'm going to make tomorrow or the next year, or if I'm going to be able to buy a house, or if I'll have the nicer car that I want. The outside world, these expectations that I hear people are crushed by, and some people aren't, but I don't have a fear of tomorrow or the day after not being what I want it to be. It is a genuine freedom that I did not know that a human being could feel. Genuinely, my life is so easy and I have no stressors as long as I go to meetings and I take my meds.
Yeah.
My life is so easy and I'm so happy. I will stay on Saturday. I'll stay home all day with him. Never been happier.
Love it.
It's so easy.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
So what's your message to somebody that, I usually ask that's struggling with addiction, but I want to ask you this in a different way. Mm-hmm. What's your message to somebody that feels just off and they know they have some kind of a mental health thing, but they might not know what it is? What does that person do?
Yeah. Reach out to there are so many places online that you can look up. You can call someone, you can talk to someone about it. You can talk to a family member. There's just so many resources out there. Just make an appointment with a therapist. If you have insurance, make an appointment with a therapist. If you don't have insurance, go online and find places that you can talk to someone that doesn't need to take insurance, or that can take it with a small co-payment or something. Yeah. Just talk to people. I see, that's the thing, is I'm so blessed that I found Alcoholics Anonymous before I found out that I am bipolar, because I already had a community of people that could guide me in that direction. Yeah. But for people that don't have a safe community where they can go talk about what's going on, just look for it, find it, just the reality is like, you don't have to walk up to people and be like, hi, I'm messed up and I need help. But you can just talk to people. Like you can just ask someone, hey, have you like ever heard of anyone struggling with this problem? Do you know anyone that like sought help in this realm? Because the amount of people that I have reach out to me in regards to family members about mental health is like unmatched. I get emails from people, I get text messages, I get phone calls. My mom all the time is like, hey, this person was talking about her daughter the other night. She wants to know if you can give her a call. You know, like all of these things, because they just want to know what the route is to do. But a few searches online, you can find someone that you can go to and talk to and figure out if like maybe you just have depression and this is like a temporary thing of like life happening, or maybe there's some bigger issues that like have to get acknowledged. But therapy, I would tell everyone in the world to do therapy, because also your therapist will get to know you and they'll encourage you to go down the right path. And also the reality specific, again, every mental health disorder is different. But again, I just wish people would understand that like, this isn't something we choose. You know, if we could snap our fingers and make it go away, that's what we would do. My little brother and I have a joke of like, my parents didn't understand mental health, you know? And so they would be like, just get over it. And like in a different term of like, you know, you have such a good life, you know, like my brother was like, I'm depressed and I'm not doing well. And my parents, because they love us and they gave us everything that we needed. My mom was like, you have everything you need. How can you be depressed? And he's like, there's something chemically wrong with my brain. You know, I don't know how to answer that, but there's something chemically wrong with my brain. And, there's just so many resources out there, and we work for treatment centers. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
There's places that scholarship people, they're everywhere, and they're so easy to access. And we live in California, which is so beautiful because we're so big on substance abuse and these mental health facilities. And I think that's the most beautiful part is these people that started substance abuse facilities and realized that there were people with separate issues that needed to be addressed, and then opened up these mental health facilities because they coexist. And oftentimes anyone in mental health will usually have some kind of a substance abuse, but also sometimes it's just normal people that experience problems. And like, that's what people don't understand is like, if you need to go to treatment, but you're scared to lose your job, leave of absence. Go see a doctor, like reach out to the doctor, get in a treatment center. You can take a leave of absence. You can be gone for 30 days. You can push that to however long you need, because like this treatment is temporary, but it's for long-term success.
Well, thank you so much. This is one of my favorite podcasts. I really enjoyed it.
Good.
Thanks, Cristin. Great job. All right.